Okay, class, please come to the rug and in a nice big clump. You don't need to sit in a circle for this. And I'm going to do a read aloud with you. Okay, so now if you look at the schedule, what will we be doing right now in class? That's right, we're going to do math. So the title of this book for our read aloud today for math is called Millions to Measure. Now I want you all to just take a moment and to look at the cover and just make some observations about what you think this story might be about today. These little quotes, if you can't see them, say, how tall is dynamite? How heavy is he? How fast can dynamite run? How much water does he drink? So now that I've read those out loud, do you have any new ideas about what you think this will be about? This story? Okay, weight, measurement. Okay, well, let's read it and let's see who's correct or not. Okay, so millions to measure. Let's race all the way down to the beach. Ready, set, go. Hold on, that's too far. No, it's not far enough. How far is it? Let's ask Marvelissimo, the mathematical magician. We need answers. Climb aboard. Millions to measure. That's a fun little introduction to this story. Okay. There are millions of things and many ways to measure. Let's fly back in time and see how people measured many years ago. When prehistoric people held a race, they had to think about distance. Ready? Set? Hold on! How far should we run? They wanted to know about size and weight. Dad, how tall am I? Ma, how heavy is my little hog? Traders had questions about volume. How much juice will fit in that jug? A bright idea was needed. Ready, set, measure. We'll use our feet. Can you imagine living in a time when none of those things were already figured out for you? You had to be the one that invented how to measure things? That's incredible. And so, people use their feet to measure distance. It's 1,000 feet to that rock. Ready, set, go! But measuring in feet could cause confusion because feet come in different sizes. You, my boy, are 4 feet tall. My dad says I'm 4 feet tall. No way! I am 3 feet tall. Look at the difference in their heights. Measured by my mom's humongous feet, you are only 2 feet tall. So to measure weight, people use stones. My darling hog weighs 50 stones. What do you think is going to happen with the weight one? Now that you saw with the measuring one, with measuring by feet, it could be different depending on the size of the feet. What do you think about for the weight one? What do you think will happen? Oh, maybe different size stones could make a difference? Let's see what happens. But stones come in different sizes. You guys were right. My huggable hippo also weighs 50 stones. Do you guys really think that a hog and a hippo could weigh the same? No. The little cartoon guy down here says, huh? How many seeds could a container hold? That's one way volume was measured. But some seeds are tiny and others are huge. So once again, measurements could mean mix-ups. This girl's counting 841, 842, 843, 844. This guy is going 200,001, 200,002, 200,003. There must be a better way. Time for another bright idea. Let's fly forward in time. All right, so I want you all thinking of what could have happened at this point for them to make a more concrete way of measuring distance and feet and volume and weight. Just be thinking about it. So what happened was kings, queens, sultans, sheiks, and chiefs solved the problem of measuring with feet of different sizes. From now on, they declared, only 1 foot would be used throughout the land. Hear ye, behold the royal foot. So foot-length rulers were made. See that my subjects measure with nothing else. Standards were also set for weight and volume. This iron block weighs 1 pound. Use this pound and no other. Today we weigh our Queen Mother. Behold the royal cup. All volume shall be measured with this size cup and no other. 1 cup of mustard on the royal hot dog. 2 cups of pepperoni on the royal pizza. Oh. Okay. So at this point, what do you guys think the problem could be? Could there be a problem? Or we figured out? Book is not quite done yet. So what do we think? Excellent. What about people that live far from where that king and sultan and sheik was? But what happened when people from faraway lands worked together? It was hard to decide which ruler's ruler would rule. Tongue twister. Let's make bicycles. This is a 3-foot wheel from West Slovakia. This is a 3-foot wheel from East Tunisia. Your queen must have tiny feet. Gradually, people began to use the same ruler, no matter who their ruler happened to be. Now a foot was a foot, whether you lived in East Tunisia or Western Slovakia. I'll race you to the border. Ready, set, go. Here is the kind of ruler we use in the U.S. today. The green snake is 1 foot in length. These are the ones that you guys use for all of your projects that are in our supply shelf over there. It looks just like this. So they're saying that this green snake is a foot. This is actually a foot ruler, which is really cool. To measure something smaller than a foot, you guys use inches. That's right. A foot, this big, huge ruler here, has 12 inches in it. That's what these numbers represent. That's saying 12 inches, 11 inches, 10 inches, 9 inches. So if I cut the snake's head off here, how many inches would he be? 9. That's right. This pencil is only 3 inches long. If you wanted to be very accurate, use fractions of an inch. You could measure to the 1/2 inch, 1/4 of an inch, and so on. So what they're telling you here as an example, it says, no matter how I stretch and squirm, I still remain a 1/2 inch worm. So if you had a 1/2 inch worm, but you only had a foot ruler with inches on it, you could never measure him. So that's where the fractions come into play, but we don't need to worry about that quite yet. But now what happens when you measure things that are larger than a foot? Do you know what you would do? Look in the corner of our classroom. We have them over there. You use them in the very beginning of this year when we first talked about measurement. How about a yardstick? Does anybody remember that? To measure something larger than a foot, you can use yards. There are 3 feet in 1 yard. So on your yardsticks that you use, there are 3 feet on there. So how many rulers would that be? 3 rulers, that's right. So, Moonbeam is about a yard high, not counting her horn, she says. Now we measure longer distances in miles. 1 mile is 5,280 feet. Mount Everest, the world's tallest peak, is about 29,000 feet, or 9,700 yards, which is also 5.5 miles high. Marvelosissimo. Look at that humongous hippo. How much do you think it weighs? Let's find out. We usually measure weight in pounds. Jello weighs 8 pounds, the cat. Robert weighs 65 pounds, so does Sandro. However, if Sandro grows up to be an Olympic heavyweight wrestler, he might weigh 260 pounds. But Sandro would be a pushover for Hercules, the huggable hippo, whose weight is figured in tons. A ton is 2,000 pounds. Hercules weighs more than 3 tons. So if 1 ton equals 2,000 pounds, how much is 3 tons? What can we do to solve that? Let's use multiplication, yep. So a ton is 2,000 pounds. Hercules weighs 3 tons. That's right, 6,000 pounds. Wow. What if Sandro shrinks? If he dwindles to less than a pound, we would measure his weight in ounces. There are 16 ounces in a pound. This bird weighs 1 ounce. Because just like what we did with the ruler with your little inchworm that was on there, if something didn't weigh a pound, do you say, oh, I can't weigh it then. It's all done, all over, can't weigh anything. You still have to weigh it, so you would just go to using ounces. If we are weighing something even lighter than the bird, we would use fractions of an ounce. This spider weighs 1/10 of an ounce. So now let's go on to liquids. Remember that cups were used to measure volume? We still use them to measure liquids. Have any of you seen any of your parents in your house maybe measuring, maybe when they're baking and they have to use a cup of something, or cooking and maybe they have to use oil and they pull out their measuring cups? They are all the same. All those measuring cups are the same. Decide how thirsty you are, then check the chart. Jello is happy with a fluid ounce of milk. So there's 8 fluid ounces in a cup, so she would just want 1. But after his workout, Hercules has a humongous thirst. He'll guzzle gallons. Just right here. So what this says is, there are 8 fluid ounces in 1 cup. There are 2 cups in 1 pint. There are 2 pints in 1 quart. There are 4 quarts in 1 gallon. There are also smaller liquid measurements. There are 2 tablespoons in a fluid ounce. There are 3 teaspoons in a tablespoon. Tablespoons and teaspoons, ounces, pints, and quarts. Ounces, pounds, and tons. Marvelissimo! It's all too complicated. We need another bright idea. All right, Hop back in the balloon. The bright idea we need dawned on a French priest in the late 1700s. I've had enough of their rulers and their rules. We need a new system of measurement that is mathematically sound and logical. Check this out. Never, never, feet forever. So now this says, the metric system. It's based on tens, hundreds, and thousands. The basic measurement is the meter. Here is an actual size meter. The rattlesnake is 1 meter in length. Measure him carefully, please. So I'm going to close this just so I can read this to you guys. If you are trying to measure something small, like an ant, a meter is too big. So you would try centimeters, which is what we already talked about. When you see a centimeter, there are 100 centimeters in a meter. So that's what this is showing. So do you hear the meter in centimeter? Centi means 100th. So how many centimeters are in a meter stick? Centi, 100. What if you want to measure something smaller like a flea or a freckle? Then you would try millimeters. There are 1,000 millimeters in a meter. A millimeter is 1/1000th of a meter. Milla means thousand. A magnifying glass makes measuring in millimeters much easier on your eyes. 10 millimeter sized fleas are the same height as 1 centimeter sized ant. Most of the time, millimeters are the smallest unit you'll need unless you are a scientist. In the metric system, large measurements are still in meters, not in yards and miles. Soccer fields throughout the world are 100 meters long. I know I have a lot of soccer players in this class. So I'm sure you guys have seen or heard that your fields are measured in meters. Olympic runners can do 100 meters in 10 seconds. What's your best time? Anybody know? No? Marvelissimo! Let's land and have our race, finally! All right, kilo means 1,000. A kilometer is 1,000 meters. If you're in good shape, you can run a kilometer in less than 10 minutes. A pronghorn antelope can kick it off in 40 seconds. An athletic snail can do it in 8 days. Ready, set, go! Congratulations! All of you ran a good race, and now you're probably thirsty. These water bottles each contain 1 liter. In the metric system, liquid volume is measured in liters. When the snail finally crosses the finish line, he'll probably be able to quench his thirst with a millimeter, which is a 1,000th of a liter. The snail deserves a medal just for making it, he says. Running is a great way to shape up and lose weight. In the metric system, we talk about losing or gaining mass, and mass is measured in grams. Jell-O's mass is more impressive. She is over 3,600 grams. And since kilo means 1,000, that's over 3.5 kilograms. Sandro and Robert both weigh 30 kilograms. As Olympic wrestlers, Sandro and Robert each weigh 118 kilograms. But they are no match for our champion, that truly massive and huggable hippo Hercules. He tips the scale at 3,000 kilograms. That's 3 metric tons. That is a lot. Because the metric system is so logical and easy to use, it has been adopted by almost every country in the world. However, in the U.S., most people don't use the metric system. As we have seen, confusion can result when people have different understandings about units of measure. and sometimes misunderstandings about measurement can lead to disaster. The engineers and operators who worked on a multi-million-dollar spacecraft made a big mistake. Some of them used feet and miles, while others used millimeters and kilometers. Oh no. After blastoff, the spacecraft that these scientists were working on was supposed to orbit Mars, but instead it was lost in space forever. Many people believe that the United States will eventually join the rest of the world and measure only in metric system. But you don't have to wait until then, because you already know how. Meters and liters and kilograms. Ready, set, measure! All right, I love that book. I think that book is so excellent. So what I want you to do now is maybe share something that you learned or share something that you knew. Okay. It's okay. Anything you want to say. If you have a comment, if you liked the book, if you didn't like the book, if you were confused about something. Because what we're going to do after all of your comments is I'm going to sit you all back in your chairs, and on the whiteboard, I'm going to write these measurements down for you so that you could really see them, you can really take them in. And I have 3 really awesome word problems for you guys to use that are going to test this new form of measurement that you guys have learned and see what you picked up. Okay? So I'm so excited for your questions and your comments. I think they were so fantastic. Thank you guys so much for allowing me to read to you. But let's all go back to our seats and we will go over these measurements that we looked at in the book and we'll work on these word problems.